Hey guys, welcome back for another exciting episode of Yoml. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast, and today we're trying to do the part five of five, the final installment of the one of our favorite book, The Anti-Fragile by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. So take it away, Chris.
Let's do it. I gotta make note before we get started though. Today was the official last reflection, the day that I wrote the last reflection for the written version of Yoml. Well, obviously we're on
It's
241
not the
right
last
now.
reflection. It's just the
No, yeah,
reflection
of the
365.
of Yoml, like Yoml, the marathon of Yoml is over.
The last written reflections of Yoml Volume One.
Volume one, yes, exactly. was completed on this very morning, April 27th of 2023. So
which happened to be draft day.
Which happened to be draft day. There you go. It's a good day, very good day today. So no, it was I just wanted to, for video documentary proof, we have officially completed this journey, and I can't wait to talk about the rest of them with you and all the other stuff to come in the future. But for now, like we'll get to Anti-Fragile, part 5 of 5. And actually, I needed this reflection so much today, and I'll tell you why in a minute here. We'll talk about it when we have our discussion. But the title of this one is "First, Do No Harm." So this is the conclusion of Anti-Fragile. We've talked about it many times. If you don't know what it's about, read the description or go check out the past few of them. I don't really care at this point in time. It's about fragility versus anti-fragility. And what does that mean? And we've been discussing it at length. It's a really fun topic and something that we learned a lot from, and excited to share this reflection with you. But if there's if there is one thing that I will always remember from Anti-Fragile, it is this concept of first do no harm. Because to be fair, 99.9% of the time when we do something, not doing something is probably the more effective solution than doing something. Maybe not 99.9. Let's say 99%. Like of the time, not doing something. Let me say that again. Not doing something is better than doing something. I think as humans, we don't understand this. We're drawn to action, right? And we're the same way. We talk about this all the time. Like just get to work, compound effect, do the stuff that you want to go do, do the things you love to do and go that route, right? Like, when we see somebody hurting, we want to help. When we see somebody that's sick, we want to solve their problem. When we see somebody that, is poor and doesn't have any money and they're sleeping under a car pass, or whatever, we want to help. When we see a donkey that we want to protect, we put it in a shed and we want to help. Like this is a part of humanity that is a good thing and a bad thing, right? Like it is the best thing ever because we care about each other. I mean, we truly care about each other. This goes back to humankind, right? We really are at our core, I think, at least, kind individuals, and that's one of our superpowers is we actually care about each other, and want to see other people survive and thrive, and we don't want to see other people in pain. We don't want to see other people suffering. We want to do everything we can to stop that. But a lot of times, not a lot of times, almost all the time that we intervene, we fuck it up. I mean, like in all seriousness, even when we solve the problem right now on the front end, like we have no idea what chain of events that we just set into motion, down the road, and how that will negatively either spiral up or spiral down, or maybe positively spiral up. Like we have no idea. The point is we have zero idea of the actions that we take every single day when we are trying to do good, and I think that people are naturally trying to do good. You go to the doctor, this is what we can talk about in a second here. Luca is sick right now. He has pink eye. And then last week he was also sick. He had a really bad cold. I don't know if he got the bad cold, the pink eye from the bad cold or whatever. Anyway, my wife last week took him to the doctor, and I was like, he doesn't need to go to the doctor. I was like, he's not in an acute situation. Yeah, he's sick. Like, and we all can see that he's sick. It doesn't sound good. But anyway, she came back with a prescription for steroids and a prescription for antibiotics, right? That's what happened. I was like, Felicia, you do not need to take him to the doctor. Like, I promise you, all you're gonna do is tell you what you want to hear, which is, your son's sick and he's not feeling very well right now. Here's some medicine to go home and here you go. This will make you feel better, right? Whatever. This will make him feel better. But really, I think it was to make my wife feel better, to be honest with you. And she came back home, and I was like, we're not giving them at least the antibiotics. You can give them the steroids, but I don't love that, but we're not giving them the antibiotics.
Neither.
I didn't have a choice with the steroids because I think they gave it to him when he was there, and once you started the course of the treatment, like you got to do it anyway. But this is what doctors do. They see a child in pain, they see a mother that's looking for answers, and they're like, here, take some drugs, right? So anyway, so fast forward less than a week later, he gets pink eye, and it's really gross. He's got snot coming out of everything right now. His eyes are all pussy and goopy, and snot's coming everywhere, and he's got a tiny little fever going on, and my wife takes him back to the doctor. I was like, I don't know why you need to take him to the doctor. We know what's going on. It's pretty crystal clear. Like, and but she was like, no, I'm gonna take him back to the doctor. I'm like, okay, fine. So she comes back with another prescription for antibiotics. This time he has a double ear infection, apparently, and also is sick and whatever. And then here you go. Here's another course of antibiotics that they just prescribed him. And I was like, no, we're not giving him that either. I'm not giving him these things because of this exact concept of first do no harm. I have no idea what happens when you give this. In a couple weeks, he's going to be probably fine, most likely. His body will do what his body is designed to do, and give him time to rest and recover and sleep and whatever. And if it doesn't, then acute medicine, is pretty remarkable. I've seen it firsthand a million times, with my daughter and what we went through. Like, I know what bad looks like, and I know what not bad looks like, right? And I know what medicine can really do when it needs to be done in a very acute emergency setting versus what this is, which is my son doesn't feel good, and that doesn't change the fact that I want to help him. I'm not trying to be callous at all. Like, I want to help my son. Like, he's my son. Like, I want my wife to feel at ease. She's my wife. Like, I want everybody to feel happy and healthy, and like, let's go back to do what we do. But the truth of the matter is just giving another drug or giving this or that. We have zero idea. Maybe I'm just throwing out wild ass guesses, but maybe 20 years down the road, this is what leads to him having asthma and IBS and Crohn's disease, and his gut, is all fucked up from all the bad antibiotics he took. And now when he has like an actual problem, the antibiotics he actually has to take doesn't work. Anyway, my point is, what I'm getting at with this scenario is we don't know. So the better course of action, most likely 99% of the time, is probably just let him heal on his own and see what happens, right? Like, do no harm. Like, that's the doctor's oath, right? That's the oath that we all should take in life. That's the problem, right? Is we want to help, but we shouldn't most of the time. So here's where the dilemma is what do you do? And this is what the second half of the reflection is about. So you're looking at me and you're like, Chris, okay, great. So you're telling me don't ever do anything. Not true at all. Actually, I'm actually saying the exact opposite of that. I'm saying do the thing that will never do any harm. And what is that? I'm going to ask you, Drew, what is that? What is the thing that will never cause any harm? If you know that you do this, it will never cause any harm.
Go with the forces of nature.
That. Keep going.
Let nature do its wonders. Whatever nature it designed you to do, just let it do. Let it take its course.
Say the words. Say the words.
Beaver must dam.
A beaver must dam. You know what I can promise you? If you want to act all day long, we are drawn to action, like we talked about, right? So if you're going to act, follow your values and beaver on purpose. Do your mission, do your purpose, because I can guarantee you will never look behind you in your wake, of all the ramifications of all the stuff that you do later on in your life and go, I am not happy with what I did. You'll go, I don't care what happened. I'm very happy with every action that I took, and whatever came from that, right? And that is my first do no harm principle of, if you're going to do anything, act, but act for yourself and act for the things that you care about most. Live your values, beaver on purpose, and the wake that comes from that, you will never have to think twice about it. You'll never have a negative ramification that comes from that. I can guarantee you that you will never, in your course of your life, ever go and say, man, I really wish I hadn't, if one of your core values is health, I really wish I hadn't have, cared about what I ate all the time, there's just zero chance in hell that you're ever gonna.
You regret is about, okay, I regret eating that thing. I didn't regret not eating something,
Exactly.
So you say, hey, I regret eat that leftovers that now are causing my stomach to go berserk on me. You regret though. You say you don't regret. Say, hey, I regret not eating that leftovers or not eating that juicy steak or whatever
Right.
whether positive or negative. You don't regret something like that. You regret doing the things that you think could help you. Hey, I'm gonna drink whatever food, alcohol, whatever it is that you want to drink, and then you will regret doing it because, for the most part, there is only certain specific thing that you do that you know is good for you. Like a medicine, right? It has one good benefit, which is whatever the purpose is, but it has like 10, 100 side effects. That's
Right.
that's the numbers. That's the
Right.
numbers. So you're talking about
You
one
have
in a
no idea.
hundred. That's
Right.
99%. So unless you really know that, hey, I am, you know, in that 1%, I'm really sure this one is going to solve the problem. You don't know I mean, the odds are going to be against you.
Right.
That what you took, what you done, it isn't the right benefit for you. It's going to be the harm. It's going to be the
You
side
have no
effect that
idea.
harms you.
Like, taking the statin today, you have no idea what that will do,
We're
good
talking
or
about
bad for the
the
long
the,
term.
the butterfly effect, right?
Yeah,
A
exactly.
teeny tiny minute thing could cause a huge, significant, like monstrous impact in down the line. So that's the thing is people don't see the I guess the ripple effect of a single small little tiny minute action that someone took. It creates a tremendous forceful impact someone else.
And that's the compound effect. Every action, call it karma, call it whatever, call it the compound effect, call it whatever the fuck you want to label it. In my opinion, personally, it doesn't matter. Every action that you take, like you just said, will result in other downstream negative or other downstream actions that you have no control over. Every action that you take, every word that you and I say on this podcast someday could have a ramification that we have no idea like what could come of this.
And
Maybe
it's going to be huge. I mean,
it
you
could.
think about it. If you, let's say you and I make a bet today, right? And you and I bet $10, but our like descendants will pay for it, and let's bet it for like 100 years from now. It's gonna like and you will, if we lose today, we don't pay today. We'll pay 100 years from now, but compound interest, using compound interest, how much will we pay? How much would my descendant pay if I lost $10 today, right? 10 minute dollar. How much that if you add like just look at the don't have to pick an interest, just pick up the rate of inflation, right?
Sure.
How much would they have to pay 100 years from now? That's going to be a huge amount. So that's the thing is
A lot.
anything we do has that kind of compound effect.
Right.
So to me, it's like debt. You owe something, right? Even though it's small, right? And if you let it fester, it continues to accumulate and it grows fast exponentially into the point where, like you say, 100 years from now, whatever, it's going to be so much bigger than we can imagine. And that's one. That is one. Like if you depending on how often you compound, right? You compound yearly, you compound monthly, you compound daily, whatever.
Right.
The more you compound, the faster it will get, the bigger
Right.
it get. So in life, right, the compound effect is multitudes at once, and it compounds within seconds or milliseconds at once.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like, oh, I have to wait
every action.
for another day for it to evaluate its compound. So the thing is, the number of compounding events that you have, the more you have, the faster it will grow and the bigger it will grow, and it's going to be astronomical in terms of what you have initially and what it's like in like a mustard seed and a mustard tree. It's
Right.
that kind of a magnitude difference.
I mean, it's massive. I mean, like one of the rare books that I read for fun before Amelia, just for pure fun. Like, I mean, I don't even know why I read this book, to be honest with you. I don't know how I came across it. I don't know why I read it. I think I just happened to be wandering around Borders one day with my wife who likes to read or something like that, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And I picked up the book and liked what I saw, stuck around and bought it, ended up finishing it. It was called The Housing Boom and Bust by Thomas Sowell. Do you know who that is? Thomas Sowell. He's like He's like a famous economist.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of famous people. I mean, I don't know. I only know Britney Spears.
Fair enough. So this is Thomas Sowell.
Okay.
He's still alive today. He's just famous economist. Anyway, so he wrote this book called The Housing Boom and Bust. And once again, one of the rare books that I read on my own, just unprompted, like it wasn't a podcast or for some book for work or whatever, it was just for fun. And I always remembered from this book, and I still remember to this day, he talked about and I think it was like in the 70s. I'll probably butcher this whole entire thing, but long story short, there was some legislation that was done in the 70s. It was like the fair, housing or whatever, some act or whatever or no, it was in the 90s. Where President Clinton signed into law because lawmakers trying to do good for people, saw people in pain, saw people that couldn't necessarily get the house of their dreams, or something like that. Maybe they were from a lower income neighborhood or family or socioeconomic class, and they couldn't get the house of their dreams because like they just couldn't afford it or whatever, or banks wouldn't lend them money for their mortgage and yada yada yada. So there was a law that was enacted to help them to get a home. That sounds great. Everybody should have the opportunity to have a home. I mean, who doesn't? Like, would you honestly think that anybody would stare you in the face and say, you know what, Drew, you don't deserve a house. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, no, nobody would ever say that to anybody,
Or
right?
somebody.
Well, somebody may, but going again, going back to humankind, I think you and I both would agree after this whole journey, like it's probably way more likely.
Well, to me, it's a ripple effect. I want to clarify what I said by that. It's ripple effect. People, if on a like a blank slate, they would never do it.
Right.
Most people, when they this is what I'm saying is when you eat the frog, you will say, well, you need to eat a frog too. So if they eat the frog and I come in and say, hey y'all, I need a loan for my house. This is my dream house, and I'm this, and then they just eat the frog, then they will say no. That's the thing. But if they didn't eat the frog, that's what I'm saying is I've worked at a lot of different places, and I've noticed that the environment and what kind of work they do, right?
People. Yeah.
People, it doesn't matter who it is. It's like in a happy
turn you
place,
into a monster.
Everybody's kind.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody's kind when they're happy. They're kind, right? And when they have to eat the frog and endure for endure's sake, they are nasty. Yeah. It's like, shit, what the hell? What happened? Like, it's like, what happened? Like, who spit your binker kind of saying.
Right. Yeah. For sure. No, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think environment certainly can shape that, but I think at our core, we all would rather be the other state, right? And I think you agree to that. I mean, right? I'm not
because the thing is, if you think about it, before the first person who becomes angry, right? No one's angry until somebody, for whatever reason, by random chance, got the atomic bomb, and they decide to take out on the world. Say, hey, the world's bad, and they the one who fester the negativity, and that negativity it pays forward. You pay forward whether it's positive or negative, because if for example I stumble and kick my toe
it's compound effect, like you said, it's
right, and then you come, hey, True, can you help me with this? Fuck you, I ain't helping you.
Right.
Why did I say that? Not because you did anything wrong, just because I stubbed my toe on some
I got
rock.
shit going on, man. I guess yeah. No, I'm with you. I think circumstances.
And then you go say, hey, you can help me. And so somebody calls you and say, hey, Chris, can you have 5 minutes of your time? You're this great marketing guy. Fuck you, ain't doing it. You ain't on me. What? So it goes on and on and on and on, right. And it compounds like a snowball that goes down the mountain. It gets bigger and bigger and faster and faster. And so that's the thing is on a level playing field, on a level line, no one is going to say no to you. Most people are kind until somebody say, somebody put a chip on the shoulder, and then this is when they start to go out and say, I'm going to get back at them. So this is where the pie is missing a piece.
I'm with you. I mean, it's a good caveat. So Thomas Sowell was talking about where the real housing boom and bust happened. It was about the 2008 economic collapse, right? And and with the best intentions of mind, people put legislation into effect where it said banks need to lend to these particular people regardless of whether or not, you know, their particular lending practices, you know, of like, hey, do you have this much income to put as a down payment or whatever? They're like, you have to lend to these people, you know, for XYZ reasons to make sure that they have an opportunity to have a home, right? So banks said, fine, fuck it. So they did what the law said. They started lending out money. And then lo and behold, you know, 20, 30 years later down the road, they found ways to make more money off of their stupid loans, you know, because they're like, oh, well, let's go trade all these, you know, these subprime mortgage loans that we were, you know, they found a way to get around it. So they've made these subprime mortgages where they said, fine, you guys want loans? Like, we'll give you loans, but we don't trust you. So the interest rates are going to jump, and, you know, but they're always going to be backed by the federal government. So then we'll start to trade them. And then now we have all this, you know, subprime mortgage trading and going on, and people found ways to make money because that's what they do. But my point of what I'm getting at is, through the best of intentions, you know, I mean, I think we can all sit here and say that they did not mean this to happen, but like through the best of intentions, legislators put things into place that down the road turned into a complete shitstorm that turned into something that it had nothing to do with their original intention of all this other stuff. And then all the blame game starts and everybody does yada yada yada. Anyway, long story short, like this is the perfect example of something we would see in a lifetime of our own generation, of a lifetime of going, well, you did this and this is what happened, and it wasn't because you did it for that to happen. It just you did this and then that happened. Like, we don't know what we do when we do it, right? So I've always said, if I'm going to ever run for political office, which I will never do in my entire lifetime, and if I did, I would only ever run for something like really, really big, you know, like the senator or the president or something like that. You know, right? I would go for something really big, right? And I would say, my platform is, I will literally do nothing. I promise you. It'll be the hardest thing that any president has ever done, but I will come into here and I will do nothing beyond making sure that our borders are protected and beyond making sure that there is safety and security in this country. Anything outside of that, I will do nothing. I will not sign any laws. I will not do any legislation. I will painstakingly get blasted by every single person that comes at me all day long saying, please help me. Please help me. We just had mudslides in California. The foxes in Denver are disappearing. Like, do something. You know, this person's doing this. Like, I'm gonna go, I don't fucking know. I can't ever in a million years sit here and tell you that when I signed something with the best of intentions to save those goddamn foxes in Denver, because I care about the fucking foxes, Drew. I care about them. Like, damn it, they're fucking foxes, and I like foxes. You know, oh my God, my raccoons. What if something was hurting my raccoons? I would be like, oh, don't touch my raccoons. It's fine. I will make sure that I sign legislative action to make sure that I funnel a ton of money and funding and sanctuary housing for raccoons and whatever, yada yada yada. I think you're getting my point of where I'm going. But like that would be my platform. Is I will promise you I will do nothing, and it will be the hardest thing that any president has ever done ever.
Right, because you see the devil doing push-up outside.
Right.
And especially you're a person in the spotlight, so it's very, very difficult for you to say, you know, hi, yeah, I'm not doing this. And so I mean, I believe you. It's probably gonna be very hard. You know, from what we know, from what you and I know thus far, it is very, very difficult to do nothing. And you know, it's counterintuitive to, you know, how we as society see, you know, hey, do nothing. It's like, oh, it's effortless, right? But it's not. It requires so
it's really
much.
hard. It's really hard. My wife could sit downstairs right now and just go, well, he's sick, you know, and in a week from now he probably won't be sick, but like, I want to help him. Like, I mean, it's so hard. Like, you have 4 kids. Like, you know, like, would you do anything for your children no matter what they, you know, like without even thinking? Of course, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's something that you do as a parent, and it's a natural thing. It's just the way nature works. But like I said, you know, you have to understand. But only until you understand that is to help them is to do a minimal, do very minimal stuff to them.
Let them
because no, you have to understand that nature is optimally good at what it does. You cannot beat Mother Nature in anything. I mean, you have Mother Nature has, I mean, you go to medical school for 4 years, right? and you watch maybe a 1 hour lecture of something, you can't tell me you know how things work. You say, "Well, I'm a doctor." I don't compare you doctor. You're a doctor compared to a
Cool.
million years of Mother Nature. It's
Right.
like you're nothing. It's like you don't even register on a scale. So that's what I'm saying is if you understand that basis, then doing nothing is probably the best thing for your kids, for anyone else, right? Yes, there are cases where you need that intervention, but that's when right? Like you said, there's certain situation where you need the intervention, and use it. I'm not saying don't ever do that, but
Right.
I'm saying is you have to understand what are you betting on? You betting on a possibility or the probability. This is what I'm saying before is, live in a world of probable, not possible. Because
Right.
possible is like, is it possible to win the lottery? Yeah, it's possible. But I'm not going to bet my life on it, because in multiple lifetime, I might not even win. Even in 1,000 lifetime, I might not even win. And the probability for me to win in 10,000 lifetime may not be even that high.
As I totally agree. And like it goes back to the whole concept of anti-fragile, right? Doing nothing is anti-fragile. Doing something is fragile. Like, I mean,
It's gonna break.
it's going to break. No matter what you do, it will not work long term. I mean, there's no solution that anybody that's ever crafted anything in this entire world that is not a Mother Nature solution that will always work in perpetuity, forever and ever and ever and ever. It's not possible, right? So here's another fun story. The best doctoring that I've ever gotten in my entire life was when I started to have panic attacks. And when I was 27 years old, I think, is when I first had my first panic attack, or 28 or something like that. And I went to my doctor, and it was the same. He was the same primary care doctor that I'd had since I was like 3 years old. He'd been the guy that my mom took me to when I was like my pediatrician, and he was the same guy that I was still going to when I was like 28 years old. He retired, I think, when I was like 30. So he'd known me my entire life. I hadn't lived in Indianapolis my entire life, for the past like 8 years before that I had been gone. But like now that I was back in town, like that was where I went when I didn't feel good. I had my first panic attack and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I thought I was dying or something like that. And I called up Dr. Lawless and I was like, Dr. Lawless, I need to make an appointment. I don't know what's going on. I feel like, I'm dying. I was like, I need to get in there like ASAP. He's like, okay, we'll make room. We'll see you tomorrow. And I was like, okay, great. So I drive down there. I have a panic attack on the way. I had to pull over on the side of the interstate because I thought I was gonna fucking kill myself in a car, because I was like, right. Oh my God, I like everything would fuzzy, and I was like freaking out. And I was like, oh my God, I just got to get to the doctor. Just got to get to the doctor. Just got to get to the doctor. So I pulled into the doctor's office, and after I had my now second panic attack, and I had calmed down enough, and I'm sitting in his office, and I'm sweaty. I'm like freaking out. I'm like worried about my life and everything, and he runs a couple tests, and he says, ask me a few questions, and then says the weirdest thing I've ever, the wildest thing that I never thought I would ever hear. Do you have any idea what he asked me?
Asked you a question?
He asked me a question, and
okay.
What is the question that he asked me?
I don't know.
He goes, Chris, I'm just curious. What's your relationship with God like these days? And I go, huh? I was like, what'd you just say to me, Dr. Lawrence? Like, it's like, what the fuck does God have to do with this? I'm like fucking dying over here. What is wrong with me? And he goes, how do you feel? Just, just in general, like what's going on in your life? And I go, and I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, work's stressful, everything's stressful, but Dr. Lawless, like, I am fucking dying over here. Like, what is happening to me? And he was like, I think after everything that I've heard you say, I'm pretty sure that you might have be having panic attacks at this point in time, anxiety attacks. And he goes, I think you're totally healthy, but I'll prescribe you this Xanax. I don't think you should take it. I'm just going to give it to you just because it's my doctorly duty. I swear to God, this is what he said. He goes, but I think you should go home. I think you should think about, your relationship with God, and maybe talk to yourself a little bit or whatever. Something along those lines is what he said to me. And I was like, what the fuck did this guy just say? I was like, give me the fucking Xanax and let me get the hell out of this office. I didn't ever think twice about it. I'm not joking. Like, I took my prescription. I went over to the pharmacy. I got my Xanax. I went home. I took my first half of a pill because I was like, I will never take a full Xanax ever because I've never even had a Xanax before in my life, and I was like, I know this shit is really really toxic, but I was like, I was freaking out. And I was like, all right, I'll try this half a pill of Xanax. Took one, fell asleep immediately on the couch, and I was like, oh man, I feel okay. The next day I woke up and I'm like, looked at this little bottle of Xanax that I had over there and the first little half pill that I'd taken off there, and I was like, I don't need it yet. I'm okay. I'm okay. Like I'm good. I'm good. I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna try to see what happens. Right. All day long, I stared at that. I put it in my bag all day long. I was like, as soon as I felt like whatever was going on with me, I was like, go get the bottle of Xanax. Go get the bottle of Xanax. Go get the bottle of Xanax. I just knew that it was there. It was comforting to know it was there, but I didn't take it. I think over the course of the next 2 years, I had that same bottle of Xanax. I think I maybe took a total of 6 half pills over the course of that entire time. But it was always a crutch that was near me. But the moral of the story of what I'm trying to get at is like the best doctoring that I've ever had was what my doctor was trying to say of like, I don't want to give you this. This shit is dangerous. This isn't going to help you. What you need to help with is everything else that was going on in your life. I was miserable at work. I was miserable at my job. Like miserable. I was so unhappy. Every day that I woke up, I was like, I can't go into this fucking place. As soon as I would walk in there and sit at my desk and one of my employees would come over and they would have like 900 fucking problems. I'm getting fucking panicky just thinking about it. They would come over and they would have 900 fucking problems, 500 things that were going on in this organization around me. And I would immediately just get flush red. My heart would start pounding. I would just start sweating and I just would want to run away. And every goddamn day, this was like this for like years. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And like, I mean, but that was what was really going on. It had nothing to do with anything other than that, right? You know, I was like, I hate this place. And it wasn't my employees that I hated. I hated the environment. It was like, it was stuff that they were being subjected to, that I was being subjected to, that we were all being subjected to, that was outside of our control. And I just couldn't take it anymore. It had nothing to do with anything. So my doctor was a great doctor. He did first do no harm principle, you know, like, and he smack some sense into me. It only took me until way later to realize what he was actually saying to me, you know?
Yeah, but the sad part is that, you know, he has this doctor duty that he must prescribe you the Xanax.
He did.
And so most doctors, without having the experience like he does, they probably gonna say, well, it's my duty to give you something. Then they do. And I mean, 99% of the time it's gonna create some harm to you, regardless of
easily become an addict.
In good intentions, right?
Right.
And so that's the thing is, you know, we need to be understanding of what people do and why they do it. And sometimes, most of the time, it's not that they're out there to get you. It's just that they want to help. But you know, chances are 99% of chance they will be the root cause of your problem later on.
Right.
And like I said, you know, when you're talking about like, because as like we said, you know, anti-fragile human being is the quintessential example of what anti-fragile is. When you interfere and give your son the steroid and the antibiotic, you are blocking the anti-fragile from doing its work, because your body is designed for that. Your body is designed to overcome that. That's why you have the vaccine and all. The vaccine is basically a weaker dose of the actual drug, bacterial viruses, and you
They're
basically
kind of anti-fragile.
train it to beat it. But you know, your body is anti-fragile. Your vaccine isn't. Vaccine is just a decoy to say, hey, you know, this is, you know, instead of fighting the David fighting the Goliath giant, you fight a mini Goliath. Right? You're still fighting Goliath. You're just fighting, you know, the child of Goliath versus Goliath himself. And then whenever Goliath comes, you fight the mini Goliath, right? You can say, oh, I know how to fight. I have learned. I have trained. I'm prepared. So when the actual Goliath comes, you're able to subdue him. So that's what I'm saying is, as a human being, we are that, you know, quintessential example of what anti-fragile is. When you intervene with it, you prevent the anti-fragile element from actually activate and work in your favor. I mean, it's like, you know, if you say, well, I want to take care of my son, I want to not let him to exert any energy. I'm going to put him in a wheelchair and I'm going to push him everywhere, right? You think about it. What happened to him later on when he's like 10 years old, 20 years old. He
I,
can't. He fucking don't have any leg. If I
I
have a
thought,
little, dangling little appendages that
dude,
eventually gonna fall off like the tail.
I thought about you tonight actually as I took Luke on a walk and I was coming around this path, this like walking path in this park next to us and like there's only me and this other person maybe like 100 yards away and they're walking and I have a little stroller as well. I'm like, oh, somebody was pushing a little baby around. That's cute. So it's just a mom and a baby walking, whatever. As we get closer and closer and closer, she's literally I don't know, she has like her headphones in, she's like bouncing around, like
Uh,
the lady behind is like having a great time. And as we get closer and closer, I go, oh, that's not a baby. You know what it was?
it's a puppy.
It was a fucking dog. It wasn't a puppy. It was a fucking dog. And I was like, and it made me
Oh,
think of it made me
it's
think
like
of
it's like you put a dog in the shed.
yeah,
That's exactly
exactly.
what they're doing.
I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this is a dog. Like the dog wants to walk. The dog doesn't want to be pushed around in a stroller. Like, I wonder if I'm pushing around my babies because he can't fucking walk, like, as fast as everybody else can. So like I gotta, if he wants to go experience the world, like I gotta push him right now until someday that he can, go do it himself. But I was like, holy shit, you're pushing around your fucking dog. I was like, man, I was like, I
He
feel
no
so
longer
for that dog.
he no longer becomes a dog. He becomes a vegetable.
He's not
Just
a
like
dog.
Sherman. Just like
No,
Sherman. I mean, dogs, they yearn to go out there and run around, and
exactly.
you can't even
From day one.
keep up with them. And you put them in a stroller. This is the ultimate like harm that you can do to some
I was
animal,
dumbfounded.
human. Yeah,
We're trying to be good, but first do no harm. Let the fucking dog be a dog. Like, like
and
I
I
mean,
just don't walk the push them.
right. And if they can't walk anymore, then I mean, all right, I'm sympathetic to that. Like my dog's getting old, right? Like I try not to like she has to go down 2 flights of stairs to get to our yard from our
But you think
kitchen
about
to our patio
Sherman.
to
Sherman
whatever.
is at death's door. I mean, he can't
Right.
walk, right? He basically sits in there and he can't walk. But the thing is, you think about it, like having Sherman out and kind of encourage him to walk prolonged his life. He would have
I
died
agree.
within weeks or months of when the book started. But because he just like your dog, yeah, you like I was saying, if you sympathize your dog, but you're doing your dog this service.
Right.
If you say, well, since you're old, since you can't walk around, since
I'll
you're
carry you
struggling,
everywhere. Right.
but
Yeah.
you can't. When you struggle, is when you really need to activate the anti-fracture properties.
Yeah. Otherwise,
Right?
she'd just sleep all day long and she would just die. Like she. This is her only time that she goes down the stairs every day. That's
I
her
mean, can you
challenge.
imagine me
Like,
like if I'm fat and I can't pick up my weight, I can only walk only let's say maybe 1/5 of a mile or 1/10 of a mile, right? And then, well, why are you walking? You're so fat right now. There's nothing you can do. So, do you think that if I don't walk, then I'll get better, or do I get
no.
better if I just walk? I mean, even for 10 steps,
Right.
and I do that 10 steps every day. I just 10 steps per day. Do you think because I'm like at the point where I can't, I mean, my bones will support my weight anymore. You think about that. Say, it's so difficult for me to walk. It hurts so much, right? I can't even walk like 10 steps. I can
Right.
walk 9 steps, right? And you think about, say, oh yeah, poor True, he can't walk anymore. Well, don't let him walk. Let's give him a wheelchair, give him and what kind of the lift or whatever you want to call it, right? Do you think that I will live longer if I don't walk, or do I would get better if I
No.
walk? So something with your dog is you feel like yeah, that's exactly the human nature inside you. Like you just told me, you just like
I know.
you
I don't
you,
want her to be in pain. Like I don't want her to get old. I
you
don't
just
want her to not
exhibit
be able. I
exactly
know. This is what
the
I mean. Like
natural human being tendency. Okay, the dog is old, it shouldn't walk, so I'm going to pick her up. She can't go downstairs and she's hopping and she's struggling. Let her struggle.
I
Let
agree
her
with you. I
struggle.
mean,
She
it's
she gonna
so
have
hard.
the she gonna prolong her life by just trying to walk
You,
down the
you know,
stairs, even though she's limping and struggling. But it prolong her life. But if you carry her, her life will be shortened.
you just reminded me that like one of the saddest conversations I've had in a long time. my great aunt Ruthie, she's like in her early 90s right now. She's my grandmother's sister, my great aunt, and she she's always been a part of my life, and she took care of me as a kid. And I have a pretty tight knit family in general. She has like, I feel like she has like 6 kids or something like that. So she has a big family. My grandmother has 8 kids total, from one from additional from marriage, from a second marriage after my grandfather passed away from cancer. And so like I come from a pretty decent sized family, right? Like I don't know how many trues you guys have, but or the wins you all have, but I'm sure you have a decent sized family as well. But I guess the reason why I'm saying this is
it's so big that I wouldn't know anyone.
right. Exactly. I mean,
Like,
I'm sure you probably even have a bigger family than I do, but I think
kids, just don't marry any wins. You're safe. I don't know.
Perfect. So, but my great aunt Ruthie, her she's in her early 90s, and or maybe late 80s, early 90s. I can't remember exactly what her age is. She her husband passed away about like 5-7 years ago or something like that. She kind of at that time snapped a little bit, like in terms of like she just stopped caring, like it's like the proverbial, you smoked your last cigarette kind of thing, and man search for meaning, right? Like she just kind of said fuck it, like and her kids, wanting to be great kids and take care of their mother, like they stepped up, and one of them actually moved in with her, and for the past, like, I think 5-7 years, like one of her children has lived with her in her home and taken care of her and been her primary caregiver and all this other stuff, right? Well, through I was the grandma diaries, like the conversations I've been having every Sunday with my grandmother. I was talking to her because while we were on the conversation, we got this text message that said, Aunt Ruthie, my grand Aunt Ruthie, her sister, just got taken to the hospital because she was possibly like, had a kidney stone / a UTI / all this other stuff. And and my grandmother was talking to me as we're both getting text messages, like, while we're both on a Zoom call. So we're both seeing them come, into our phones, like right next to us. And I, mentioned it to her, and she was like, yeah, no, I checked with Ruthie earlier. She's fine. Like, that's not a big deal. And she was like, I had church I had to go to, I had other things I had to do, yada, 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 like, and she's like, I'll get there if it's like serious. I talked to one of her kids, like, it's not a big deal, and then we got this text message while we're talking, literally like 10 minutes later, that was like, this is a big deal. Things are not looking good. She's at the hospital. She's completely refusing to eat, to drink, to do anything, all this other stuff. And my grandmother's like, ends up talking to me about this. And she goes, we were having a conversation about purpose in a weird way. And she goes, she was like, I love my sister, but like, this isn't who I want to be. Like, I have things to do. Like, I have a purpose still. I have, church groups that I have to go to. I have people that I have to lead. I have people that I need to help. I have these events that I put on, that I host. This is what I want to do. I got to get out and I got to go walk every day because I want to make sure that I keep myself healthy to be able to go to dinner with everybody. My sister gave up 5 years ago, and her son, is done everything to enable her to do absolutely nothing, and with the best of intentions. And she's gotten to this point in time where she just wants to give up. Like, and it's right. Like, and to your point about the dogs and running with Sherman and, all this other stuff, it's like if we let, like, with the apps, I am not saying that my cousin Stephen, who lives with her right now, does not care about his mother. He cares about her.
But that's the thing is, that's what I'm saying is, even for you and your wife, I mean, it's like you want the best for Luca. Absolutely. But we don't understand that, because in our nature to be kind and to care, and especially the people that dear to us. But the thing is, without the rider on the elephant understanding, hey, doing good could actually be doing bad. Without having that conscious understanding, you would naturally gravitate toward doing something that is not good for them, because we don't understand them. We understand ourselves, but we can't understand them. So how can we help them if we are not them? So that's what I'm saying is, you need to transcend the silver rule. I mean, you have to understand that not the silver rule, the platinum rule, right?
No, it's the silver rule, because it's do not unto others what you would not want done to yourself. I don't want
Right.
somebody to wait on me hand and foot. I don't want somebody to do all these things. Like if I can't do it, then let me go. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's what I'm saying is, it's human nature to be kind,
well, it's
and
not a principle.
most
My
people,
yeah.
yeah, it's a silver rule. I
and
love the
and
silver
it's
rule.
kind of the silver and the platinum rule at the same time, actually.
Yeah. The silver rule is like the silver rule is what prevents me from going over there and beat you over the head with. 'Cause I don't want to get beat over the head. The first silver rule is it's also like, hey, we don't want. To me, the silver rule it's what prevents us from using our weapons at will, because we don't want them to use weapon on us. We don't want to use a weapon on them. So that's why, to me, as far as like atomic bombs and all this nuclear, it's never gonna happen.
Right.
Never. Never. The only reason why a nuclear bomb will be fired if it's are the only one that has it. But if
Right.
you know the other guy has it, you will not fire.
Yeah. I mean, dude,
You won't fire
do not
on
undo
purpose
others what you
anyway.
do not want done to yourself. Nobody
And
wants
that's
to
the
get
thing.
blown up by a
That's the
nuclear
thing
bomb.
is
Like,
exactly. That's what I'm saying is we don't. That's why we have this civilized world. It's because what to stop me from going out and bang somebody on the head and taking the money, because
you
I
don't
don't
want it
want
done to
them to do it to
yourself. Yeah,
me.
right. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
So the same thing with like among all the wars, right? You don't want to bomb the cities that people live in or whatever. It's just because it's not because you don't care about the civilians. You just don't want them to not bomb your civilians.
like actually, it's funny we just brought up the silver rule with this, because the silver rule really is first
Is
do no
what
harm.
governs the world.
It's do no harm. Like it's not, because the golden rule is about action, right? Like and do unto others that you want done to yourself. So if I mean, I actually, the more that I think about that, that's a bullshit rule, because I don't want people to tell me what their values are, and I don't want them to do that to me either. Like I mean, I'm okay if everybody understands this principle and everybody lives their values, right?
Yeah,
I'm okay
golden
with
rule
the
is
the,
not
the
it's
wake
not
of that.
applicable. It's not enforceable.
I agree. I mean, it's what is enforceable is the platinum rule, because if you have to think about what I like, then you have to know me first, and then do that to me. That's fine. I'm okay with that, right? Like, and then don't do anything to me. If you don't know me, don't do shit to me. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want you to do anything to me if you don't know me. Like, you can platinum
Yeah,
rule
well,
me or you can silver
exactly.
rule me.
It
Don't
just
golden rule me.
it's just like
Like,
you think you're helping somebody, and you go out there and you help them, and it turns out that it's not what
doing
they want.
harm. Right,
And
right.
so you don't want them to do it to you either, because hey, why you? That's why I'm saying mind your own business kind of phrase that comes up. That's
Yeah.
the silver rule at work. So to me, like I said, the best thing that I took out of this book is the silver rule, right? People talk about the golden rule. People talking about you talking about the platinum rule from the book that you read. But to me, is the silver rule is the one that is that how the world works. It revolves around the world revolves around that silver rule.
It's just do no harm. I mean, it's really what it is do no harm. Don't act. Like, like unless you and this goes back to the whole reflection of, if you are gonna act on the stuff that you know that you care about, that are your values, that reflect your purpose, and then I can guarantee you will do no harm. I promise you, because like there's no bad things that can come from you doing things that you love to do. You don't love to do bad things. Like, nobody loves to do bad things. I mean, I even the worst people in this world. I mean, we could probably have a whole other argument about this, but like, even like Jeffrey Dahmer, or the most notorious serial killers of modern history. Like, I even think that they like don't want to harm people. Like, I mean, all day, every day. Like, I don't know where it flipped, where they went into a downward spiral, but like even they had to like block out the inner voice saying, don't do this, don't hurt somebody. Like, and when they did, eventually, then it became
I
easier and
mean,
easier and
most
easier.
people have most people, like for me, it goes back to the civil rule again, because you want to. Like I say, one of the reasons why we go to war isn't because this or that. It's because we want. I mean, as a soldier, anyway, as a soldier, you want to fight in the war because you want to protect the people that you love, right? It's the need. It's a need to say, okay, I did this bad thing for this good thing. You're trading that. And so some of these serial killers or whatever, they think they do somebody else a favor. Like, for example, the let's say you're talking about the terrorists, the bombs thing, right?
Right.
They are doing it for somebody they love, their brother, their sister, or whatever. They do it for them. So for them, in their mind, they're doing good.
Right.
They're using their kind heart, right, to do things. But that thing that they did happens to be bad for someone. It's bystanders, right? It's called collateral damage.
Right.
It's not their intention to go and bomb the city, whatever. They bomb because someone told them, they will save the family or whatever, or the family has been threatened or whatever to go do that. And the people who threaten them has similar conundrums in terms of, okay, I need to do this because of this, whatever. So that's what I'm saying is everybody approach the activity and effort and the action they do from that kind heart perspective. But for the most part, you look at it, it becomes disasters because that's not what they do. That's not who they are. They can't go say I'm a beaver and I want to be an eagle and I'm gonna fly and I'm gonna do. It's like, how can I even have a single chance at even flying like an eagle when I don't have the capability in the wings and the bone structure to even take flight? You think about it. What's the chance of me successfully fly as a beaver?
0.
What's the chance of me building
it's not zero. It's not zero. It's not zero. I mean, because the first bat had no chance either. But
I'm saying it's you live in a world of probable, not possible, right? So I'm talking about. I'm asking you, what's the chance? You don't have to say 0. You can say whatever numbers you want.
0.0001.
My point is, what's the chance of a beaver, take flight, and what's the chance of me, a beaver, build a dam that is, pretty fucking awesome?
I'd say 99% you can build a dam that's pretty okay, and 0.0001% you could fly.
So, like I said, whatever number you give me, those two numbers, compare that.
Right.
So which number should be greater? Almost all the time.
I mean,
so that's what I'm saying is if you are made to be this beaver, you have the faculty to build the dam. You have the advantage. The chance of you to complete that successfully is high compared to something else, which is anything else that you do. For example, let's say I'm a beaver. An eagle is one thing. Let's say I want to be a lion. Can I be a lion? Very low chance. Very, very low chance, right?
In your mind,
So let's say, okay, forget about the lion. Let's say be a wolf. Let's say I want to be, I want to be a hedgehog, right? Can I be that? I can't. So there is one thing I'm good at, and there are a million things I'm not.
Right.
So this is where the 99% comes from. It's like, if you're not good at what you do, this is not your core value. It's not what you are designed to do. Whatever you do, it's going to be an obstacle. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be, I guess the screw that unhinge everything.
Agreed. I mean, this is, I don't know, this is probably one of the most important principles I think of Yoml is like inaction. I mean, like, don't do how many times do I bring an idea to you?
Exactly.
How many times have I given an idea to you?
I would say like 50.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like this is what my brain thinks like this all day long, and I'm sure yours does too. But like mine, like I get really fun, creative ideas. That's what I like to do. And then I'm like, hey, I'm glad that you stopped me from doing it because like I will do harm away from like this year of magical learning was one of those where it was like, okay, this does fully align with who I want to be. And I tested it out and we found out that it was legit. And here we are 16 months later. And I just finished the final reflection for this. Right. And you and I are talking about our 241st, 7th generation committee meeting. And where we are talking about another great book and having another great conversation about all this stuff.
Right.
Totally natural. Like, and I have no shame and all the wake that was left and everything that I've done for this particular project.
Exactly.
No regrets. Like, I mean, the only regrets that I have if anything, is that this is over. Like,
But
I
it's
know it's not
not.
over. I know it's not over, but I mean, this marathon is over. I can always go run
It's
another
it's
race.
it's
I
a
can always do that.
construct of your mind.
I know.
It doesn't end. To me,
I
it doesn't end. The
it
only way it ends is whenever some external force prevents me from doing it. Whether somebody, just if life leads me today, that's a force that prevents me from doing what I want to do. But
right.
that's what I'm saying is, if you do what you do, right, then you have the ability to enjoy the journey without having any kind of regret and having any kind of like, oh, I look back and the mass,
Where I'm like,
that.
yeah, what did I do? This was fun. Like, I can't believe I said that to that person, or I did that to
Yeah.
that person, or I hustled that hard where I, completely ran over this person. Like, I mean, this
Mm-hmm.
happens to me almost daily in the job that I'm in now, where I have like two different brains, right? One of them is my core value driven brain, where I just want to go help and coach my team and club any light. And then the
Mm-hmm.
second side of my brain is like my corporate soldier brain, where I'm like, okay, motherfuckers, you do this, you fucking do this, you fucking do this. Like, and then I go and I take a step back and I'm like, I don't want to be that person. I was like talk about do no harm. I don't want to do this to anybody. I don't want to have this conversation with you where I got to go, you know what? You suck at your job. Fucking fix this shit. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't but like I have no other option in that world where it's like if you don't figure this out, then we all get fired, right? And like that sucks. Like that's fucking awful. I don't want to do harm to somebody else. But then, you look at your trail, your wake that you leaving behind, and people are like, "Man, I remember talking to Chris. He sucked. He's a dick." Like, and then everybody else that knows me and what I like to do, they're gonna go, "Chris isn't a dick. Chris like really cares about people and like really
Mm-hmm.
wants to hear their stories and wants to like help people." Like, and they're like, "Well, that's not who I saw." Like, and I'm gonna go, "Yeah, you're right. Like, that wasn't who I was." Like, you're it's like a totally dichotomy, right? Like, I mean, I have to do harm to you in order to get this because that's what the business is saying.
Right. But that's the thing is, you can't just do everything that comes your way. You have to say, okay, I mean, this is one of the important rules. You have to understand to say no to a lot of things that doesn't fit. Because if you say yes to this, you say no to the others, right? Because like there's certain activity that align like perfectly with who you are. If you say yes to something that kind of fit, then you actually say no to the rest of it.
Yep.
Right? It's just that you just cannot have both, right? You only have a single day, right? And you can't really divide that time among all the things you do. So you have to be able to say, well, I am sure this is what I want, and the rest of everything else that comes across your desk,
It's irrelevant.
you do nothing.
Right.
Because
You
like, I'm saying,
you only do harm.
if you and I will have to pick up other stuff that you brought to the table, right? And
And we've
we
done
did them,
harm.
we wouldn't have time to do this.
Right.
We just it's not possible. And so that's what I'm saying is you're gonna be miserable because it kind of fit and it kind of like what we want and I kind of enjoy it, but then it doesn't last, right?
Right.
And then you down this sunk cost fallacy. You say, well, I haven't gone this far, might as well go the rest of the way. And then like 100 years later, it's like, I regret spending that time. I mean, you go and read what Steve Jobs said when he on his last day on Earth. He said, whether it's a $300,000 car or $30,000 car, it takes you to the same place.
Sure.
Right? And they say, well, that's my regret. I just mean the amount of money and all the thing that I amasses, it didn't give me any kind of high meaning to my life.
No. I mean,
And so
zero.
so you can't really say, well, because I've gone down this route. I took I think it was good, and I thought I was doing something good for society and whatever. If it's not aligned with who you are, right? You're not going to enjoy the journey, and when you leave this world someday, you're going to regret the time that you didn't do what you it would do the things that far better fit your lifestyle, your kind of person.
Right.
than just picking up everything. So there's going to be 1,000 things, probably a million things you have to say no to.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I
I mean,
mean,
you can say, well, I mean, you can tell me, hey, true, that's a good idea, and I say, yeah, it's a good idea, but that's not what we want to
that's
do,
not what we're
right?
doing. Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
it'll
it's
just
like,
do
okay,
harm to like yeah, you're right. Like I mean, I do this shit to you all the time. I mean, it's like and I appreciate you. That's why you don't do it alone. That's why one of my core values is don't do it alone. I could be in my own little vacuum chamber and go, no. Like, I'll convince myself that this aligns. Like let's try this out. I'll go. Like, but it doesn't. Like that's why I need you to say this, and vice versa. Like I mean, this is goes both ways, right? Like I mean, and like I've never been more proud. Like no joke. I've never been more proud of any meaningful work activity I've ever done in my entire life than this project. Like everything else that I've ever done in my life, even I can't imagine because I wasn't ever really proud of that. That was something that I had to do. Like I felt like in my bones I had to do that. Like it wasn't a something I was proud to do. I've never been more fucking proud than when that was why I was crying so much this morning. Like I was just like, man, I've never done anything in this life that I've ever been more proud of than crossing that finish line of this first marathon of your magical learning. I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll run 30 more in my life. I don't know. I don't really care. It doesn't matter at this point in time. But like I've never been more proud than to
if you're
cross
born to
that.
run, you're gonna run. I mean,
You run, right? Yeah,
that it is what it is, right? Because
right.
if you're born to run, you run. And so it doesn't matter if you're a beaver, you build a dam, you're gonna be really proud of the dam. I mean, if I'm a beaver and I was able to fly for one second, it doesn't make me feel proud. It's just like, well,
No,
shit. You know what I mean? So it
yeah,
doesn't matter the accomplishment, and it doesn't matter if people think your accomplishment isn't much. It is up to you because if you are a beaver, whatever you do, you feel proud. And if you and I are aligned on these core values in companies, right? We are going to be proud, and regardless of anyone who says anything, any kind of judgment, we don't really
right.
care.
I
But
don't
we're still
care.
proud.
Like,
We're still proud to say that. And then so anyone who wants to talk to me and say, "Hey, what kind of thing that you like to do?" Well, I like to do this kind of thing. It's up to you what you like or not. And
right.
and like I said before, it is okay to be misunderstood. In fact, it's probably good to be misunderstood because I don't need to
I don't need. Yeah, I
to
need you to
to
understand it.
to
Yeah,
uh I don't need to notice the devil doing push-ups outside.
right. I mean, no, I mean, you're totally right. Like I was thinking about that this morning on the run that I was on with Amelia after we finished writing our first reflection, and we were listening to the Black Swan, and he was talking about some of these like the concepts of with like an author being a Black Swan, and like the scalability of the activities they do, and the fat head and the short tail basically is what he's talking about. Like the fat head. Now later on down the road, I now have different terms to apply to all this. But when he's talking about like a Black Swan with like a scalability issue, he's talking about a fat head and a short tail, right? Or the long
Right.
tail. The when I'm hearing this, he was given the scenario of that Russian author that like nobody had heard of, that refused to change anything and like edit anything or like blah blah blah. And she was like, if you don't want to take it, then don't take it. And then someday some publisher comes along and does it for free basically, or almost free, and then all of a sudden like people see it on the grows a small random following on the internet, and then that following turns into multiple $1 million of multiple million books sold, and all of a sudden people are looking back going, how do we miss that? And then we're trying to put a reason around all this stuff, and yada yada yada, and they're trying to say, well, here's why, because she was influenced by XYZ and she did it this way and blah blah blah. Anyway, long story short, he was like, this person doesn't exist, but the scenario exists all over the place. It's like it's I don't give a fuck if anybody ever reads this. I don't give a shit if anybody ever listens to any one of these podcasts that we do. What I care about is like every single day I've enjoyed the shit out of it, and
It's
like,
just like, do you care if somebody goes and watch you play tennis?
no, as a matter of fact,
Exactly.
like I mean like I actually tell people, don't come watch me play tennis. Like, I mean, they're like, should I come watch you play tennis? And I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, I don't care. Like, I'll be fine either way. But like,
It's like if you're a foodie, right? You love
right.
food. If you want, do you want people to go and watch you eat? No, I
Probably not.
enjoy the food
No,
because I enjoy the food.
right. If you want to come, then come. Like if you like tennis, then come watch me play tennis. There's plenty of people that watch me play
But it
tennis.
has
Just
no connection to the thing that you do, right?
right,
You love tennis. You play tennis regardless of whether it's an audience or whether it isn't an audience.
right.
As long as you get to play tennis, that's the point. That's the point you're saying is if you focus on if you do the thing you love, that is already the reward that you're getting for yourself. And because of the reward you get yourself, it does a spiral, a compound effect up. Meaning because you love so much, you play so many tennis. Because you play so many tennis, it's going to say, well, because I play so many tennis, I was able to learn many things. And when because you learn so many things, so many days, so many years, who who could beat you? You think about it. You become world class because that's what I'm saying. We ask the question is, can you become world class, right? And if you take somebody who is identical, one likes it and one doesn't like it, and you be say, hey, who will be better, who become world class, right?
When we're 90, like I mean,
Exactly. I mean,
yeah.
but I'm saying
I'll
is,
beat Novak Djokovic because he won't show up because he won't be able to play. Like he'll be like, fuck it, I did
well,
all.
you
I
think about this, right? I mean, we are not even going to project. Okay, let me ask you how many books you've read. Just give me an estimate, a conservative estimate.
Well, I know exactly because I had to add it up because I was it's 286 is what was
okay,
done on this.
286.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is because we love to do what we want to do. 286 is a huge number. Most people don't even get far than 100.
But those are new books, by the way. I mean, I've reread many books on this journey,
That's what I'm
but yeah,
saying.
new
That's what I'm
books.
saying. And this is not projection. It's just like you have read that number of books.
Right.
For most people in their life, even for the fucking CEOs that you say, hey, I read a book a day, that's a fucking lie. Okay? They don't have time for it.
Right.
They don't have time for it.
Even if they did, I mean,
CEOs don't read books. They don't
ah,
have time for it.
I don't know about that.
No. I'm talking about all these BS that people put on, like people online. Hey, you're a CEO. They read what they don't read the books. They probably skim something about what look at the
Right.
paper. What they don't read book because the thing is, if they're good at what they do, they don't have time for it. They don't have time for it. I mean, they have meetings all day long. CEOs are busy. You look at the schedule; they have meetings all day long. You're not even a CEO. You're probably like top leader, right? Your meeting is probably filled, like weeks after week. It's filled, right? And so that's what I'm saying is, if you're a CEO, and because the CEO is the face of the company, for the like I said,
I mean, this is my
it's
calendar.
nauseating to me. It's nauseating to me to look at your calendar.
Yeah.
Okay, and imagine you're a CEO because CEO, everybody wants a piece of your time. You have no time for it.
Right.
You have no time for it.
I mean,
So to me, even a CEO won't have read that many books.
Unless they prioritize. You could be a random weirdo outside.
No. I'm talking about like the general populations of this CEOs. Like let's say you find some CEO that is like you. Yeah, right. Because it isn't because they're CEO that they read the book. They read the book because they are coaching company S.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yes. Right. So the Max Yoder is a CEO that I guarantee reads a lot of books. Guarantee it.
He can read that number of books and not be a CEO because the CEO doesn't. It's not the reason why he reads the books. He reads the books because he wants to read the book, not because he is a CEO.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is for most people, without doing the thing they like to do, right? It doesn't accumulate. It doesn't add up. It doesn't create that spiral effect. It doesn't create that compound effect that spiral upward. Right? Yeah, because that's what I'm saying is, you got to focus on the things that you know how to do and want to do and like to do.
It's almost embarrassing. Honestly, it almost is embarrassing when you do when if I'm a beaver and I made my 500th dam, or my 5,000th dam, if you go back to, your friend huddle and you're talking to your beaver friend and you got the beaver sitting at the campfire with the fox and the wolf and the groundhog and everybody's sitting around the campfire drinking a beer and you're like, hey beaver, how's life going? What's new? It's like not bad. Family's doing good.
I'm still building dams.
Building dams. How many dams do you think you built, man? And he goes, I don't know, man. I don't know. Take a guess. Well, I mean, I don't know. Let's say 2,000. You built 2,000 dams, and he's gonna go.
How many you built?
Well, yeah,
No.
I mean, what do you mean he built 2,000 dams? And he's gonna, yeah, you're like, I mean, I guess I didn't really think about it, but I mean, it's almost, I don't want to talk about this, man. What's going on in your life? Like that's kind of how I
It's like
feel almost
you're
these days,
asking me what's
Like,
new.
but
Like you're asking me what's new.
I went to lunch with a dude that I hadn't seen like for I don't know, probably like 8 months to a year or something like that, um and we're not like super close either. Like he just reached out because he just wanted to catch up and like, we're acquaintances. And he was like, "Hey, you want to go out to lunch sometime?" And I was like, "Sure." We used to work together long time ago, and he was like a work acquaintance, and I was like, "Sure, let's go grab some lunch." So we're grabbing some lunch, and he's like, I'm asking him just like what's new in his life, learn about his business, the business that he started. He's a realtor now, and he's running his own real estate firm for the past like 5 years, and he's talking about his employees and all the struggles he's going through. I was interested. I was like, that was really cool. I mean, I'm really proud of you. Like, that's great, yada, yada, yada. He's like, so what's new in your life? And I'm like, nothing really, and he was like, nothing. And I'm like, I don't know. We're working a job, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is what I do. I'm like, yeah, it's nothing really. And I can't remember how he accidentally opened up Pandora's box where I started talking about, like this shit and Clubany and basically my beautiful question in life and Yoml. And anyway, long story short, like 45 minutes later, he's like, "Whoa, what do you mean you don't do anything?" Like, I'm like, well,
Well,
I don't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just doing what I do. Like, I mean, I don't consider that important to anybody else, other than myself. Like, and I'm being honest about that. Like, I'm not like, I don't. Nobody does this to go, "Hey, I read 286 books." No beavers, on purpose and goes, I
because
built
if you
2,000
have to
dams,
count, you're not
Right.
being on purpose.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're being for other people. You're being for people's approval of you,
Agreed.
and
That is a great point. I've been going back and forth, back and forth over and over and over again, going, do I post this or do I not? Because it was always my intention to be like, here's as my final post, like, you're a magical learning by the numbers. Like, what a journey. Here's the last reflection. Like, but to your point, like, I don't really care if anybody knows this stuff, but at the same time, I'm really proud of it. Like, we worked really hard. I haven't really talked about any of these things to anybody. Nobody knows what I've been doing or not doing. So like, I felt like maybe I should let them in a little, like, and I don't know. What do you think?
I don't care. I mean,
I
that's
know
what
you
I'm
don't
saying
care,
is
but yeah,
I don't. I mean, I honestly don't care. I
fair
mean,
enough.
for me, it's like I look forward to our conversation, and that's what I do. And whether or not somebody knows it is, I don't. I mean, I don't. There's not even a single iota of preference one way or another. If you say it, right? If you don't say it, I don't really care, right?
Yeah,
To
it's fair.
me, I am perfectly stable in my ability to know what I want to.
Good point.
I don't. It's not that I don't like people. I just say, well, what you do, you should do your thing. I do my thing, right?
Right.
If you say, true, you're an idiot. True, you're lazy. True, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't bother me a single bit because I am so, I guess, sure of what I do. Any judgment that people give me, it doesn't even phase me because it's like basically like I have this fortified shield like that, like you're talking about the house and the devil doing outside and trying to get your attention, right? For me, it's like my fortifications of my house is solid, and so any rocks that you throw at the house, it didn't even register onto this shield of the house,
Right.
right? So that's what I'm saying is
I don't care. Yeah, I mean, that's
we,
fair.
we, we can say it, and if people say, hey, you're doing this or you're doing that, I don't care, right?
Yeah, that's a good
Or
point.
we don't do it, I don't care. So um, to me, I don't really mind whether we show the number or don't show the number. It's all about, do I feel like it? If I were to do something,
I
did
do.
I
I
had
just
a spur of the moment? Okay, I actually thought about it and I like it. So if I like it, I put it out. If I don't like it, I don't put it out. I don't really care what people say about whether I'm this or that. That's where I stand. So for
yeah.
me, it's like I say, having that ability to me, it's changed who I am, and it changed me for the better because regardless of how you judge me, I feel better about myself and I feel better about my life. To me, life is good. Right now, life is good. It's probably not like compared to anything else because the thing is, your life is different, my life is different. You can't say, well, what I do, what you do, is you can hey apple to apple and compare that. What I'm saying is having the ability to not care. That's why I say it's actually good to be misunderstood. I'm not here to prove to anyone anything. I'm not here to set anybody straight about me.
Right.
I don't really care. I don't have the time for it. I could, I gotta go do the thing I need to do. I
No,
gotta build my
you're right.
dams.
I won't even
So
think twice about it, to be honest with you. Yeah,
if you
I mean,
at the moment when you do the thing by the numbers and you are inclined to do it, then fucking do it.
no,
If
I
you
am.
don't want to do and you don't,
I just
there's
told
no
you
such thing as should I do or should I not. Say, do I want to? It's like the marshmallow test again. Should I should I eat the marshmallow or should I not? It's like, do you want a
yes.
fucking marshmallow? If
I
you
have
do,
not
eat it.
I have not spoken about this for 16 months, and I'm not, and I just said to you, I've never been more proud of anything in my life. I'm happy to share this because this is a reflection of something that Amelia and I did together, and that I want other people to know it because they'll ask a question about, well, what is all this about with Amelia, and I'm like, oh, I've never talked to you about my daughter. Like, some random person wants to reach out, I'll talk to you about it all day. That is my purpose. I'm
It's
happy
like you
to do
get to the
that.
point where even I become Don Quixote, I have no shame.
Right.
I don't have a single shame of what I say.
I don't actually
I
know what
can.
you mean by that. The Don Quixote. I've never read that book, so maybe we should
You
read Don
don't know
Quixote.
Don Quixote?
I know the book. I know it's a book. I don't know who.
So the book about
I know who
the
Don
knight and his
Quixote is.
donkey, right?
Yeah.
And he's fighting the windmill, right? He's living his own world, right?
Don't
But
tell me. Is it worth reading?
I don't. I actually don't. But to me, I'm just using it as a.
It's well here. I'll read it. But there's a um there's a book called Donkey Hody.
No, I'm talking about Don Quixote.
I know. Hang on. It's like Donkey Hody. Hang on. Donkey. There it is. It's a Don Quixote. And there's like a book that my mother-in-law got for Luca.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's Don Quixote. Damn it. I'll find it.
Yeah. But the premise of the book is that the guy who thinks he's a knight from the
Don Quixote.
outside perspective, right? Everybody thinks he's a joke, but that's the thing is everybody can think of me as Don Quixote.
No, Don Quixote is who it is.
Don Quixote. I don't know what Don Quixote is.
It's Don Quixote. Anyway, all right, sorry. Yeah.
Right, but the thing is, like I said, the premise is that his perspective and people's perspective are completely different, vastly different, right? And so you say, well, I can be seen as this idiot who doesn't know the reality, who is separate from the reality a long time ago, and he's in his own crazy world. Even then, I don't care, right? I don't concern, even though if I can realize that I'm even if I have realized that I'm Don Quixote, even after that realization, I still don't care. Right? You think about that. That means to me is that it's good to be misunderstood because people think differently than what Don Quixote is doing and what he thinks.
Don Quixote.
Don Quixote. Right. Don Quixote. That's that. But you get my point, okay?
I do. All right. We're actually. It is really late now. This is probably our longest one we've ever done. So, all right, let's wrap. If you're cool with it, that was a fun one.
Cool.
All right. Question. Apparently, I have a typo. Are your actions for others or for yourself?
But they know. I don't care.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, all right, everyone. Something to think about. Thanks for joining, and hope you enjoyed the conversation. We'll see you all on Monday.
Yeah. See you next week. Good night.